At my sister's baby shower, my mother held up a framed writing, a gift from everyone to our new mother. I leaned closer to get a better look. It was my apartment, which I paid $509,000 for. My father leaned closer and whispered, "You have 30 days to vacate." Mom added, "Some people just don't deserve nice things." Sister smirked, finally getting what I actually deserve. Uncle agreed, family comes first. Aunt nodded, some children just need to learn about sacrifice. I smiled. One day is more than enough. By dawn, everything they owned was gone. I'm Wendy, 28, and I work as a senior software engineer at a tech company in downtown Seattle. This story involves my younger sister Emma, 25, who just had her first baby, and my parents, David and Linda, who I thought I knew until that fateful Saturday afternoon. Let me start from the beginning so you understand the full picture. Growing up, Emma was always the golden child. Not in an obvious way that would make people call my parents out, but in those subtle ways that chip away at you over years. When I got straight A's, it was expected. When Emma got B's, it was celebrated. When I saved up for months to buy something I wanted, I was being responsible with money. When Emma wanted something, well, family should help family, right? I moved out at 18 for college and never looked back. I worked 2 jobs while studying computer science, graduated with minimal debt, and landed a great job right out of school. I'd been living in apartments and saving aggressively for years because I had a dream. I wanted to own my own place in Seattle, something that seemed impossible on a single income in this market. 2 years ago, after 6 years of saving, side hustles, and living like a college student well into my 20s, I finally had enough for a down payment. I found a beautiful 1-bedroom apartment in Capitol Hill, nothing fancy but it was mine at 750 square feet. The mortgage, HOA fees, and property taxes came to exactly $3,800 a month, which was tight but manageable on my $105,000 salary. I remember the day I got the keys. I called my parents, crying happy tears, telling them I'd finally done it. Dad said he was proud, Mom said that's nice, honey, and that was about it. Meanwhile, Emma had dropped out of college after 2 years, worked part-time at various retail jobs, and had been living with her boyfriend Jake in his parents' basement for 3 years. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't judging her life choices, but the contrast in how our parents treated our different paths was stark. When Emma announced her pregnancy 10 months ago, you'd have thought she discovered the cure for cancer based on my parents' reaction. Suddenly, every family gathering was about Emma's pregnancy. Every conversation was about the baby. Every family decision revolved around what would be best for Emma and the baby. I was happy for her, genuinely. I bought gifts for the baby, helped plan the shower, and even offered to help with childcare once the little one arrived. But I started noticing things that made me uncomfortable. 5 months before the baby was born, Emma and Jake started complaining about their living situation. The basement was too small, they said. It wasn't appropriate for a baby, they said. They needed their own place, they said. Fair enough, I agreed with all of that. What I didn't agree with was what came next. Wendy makes so much money, Emma said during one family dinner. She could easily afford to help us with a down payment. Or, Dad suggested, maybe Wendy could let you stay with her for a while. Just until you get on your feet. I explained that my apartment was a 1-bedroom, barely 650 square feet. Where exactly would a couple and a baby sleep? On my couch? Family helps family, Mom said in that tone that meant the discussion was over. But I held firm. I'd worked too hard for my space to give it up, and frankly, I was already stretched thin financially. I offered to help them look for affordable places, maybe chip in a few hundred toward their deposit, but that wasn't good enough. The comments started then. Little digs about how I was selfish and didn't understand what family meant. How I was hoarding my success instead of sharing it. How some people forgot where they came from. I started dreading family gatherings, but I kept going because I wanted to be there for Emma's pregnancy and the baby. The baby shower was planned for the Saturday when Emma was 38 weeks pregnant. I'd taken the day off work, spent $200 on gifts, and even helped Mom set up the decorations that morning. About 30 people were there, family, Emma's friends, some of Mom's church friends. Everything seemed normal at first. We played the usual games, ate cake, and watched Emma open presents. I was actually having a good time until Mom stood up with this framed document in her hands. Before we finish, Mom announced, we have one more very special gift for Emma and Jake from the whole family. She held up what looked like some kind of official document in a nice frame. I couldn't see it clearly from where I was sitting, so I got up and moved closer to get a better look. That's when my blood went cold. It was a deed. Specifically, it was the deed to my apartment, with Emma's and Jake's names typed in as the new owners. I stared at it for a full 10 seconds, thinking I was misreading something. But no, there it was in black and white, my address, the apartment I'd saved for 6 years to buy, the place I'd been paying a mortgage on for exactly 14 months. What is this? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Dad appeared beside me and leaned in close. You have 30 days to vacate, he whispered in my ear like he was telling me the weather. I turned to look at Mom, certain this was some kind of joke or misunderstanding. Some people just don't deserve nice things, she said with a shrug, not even looking at me. Emma was beaming as people around her congratulated her on the generous gift. She caught my eye and smirked. Finally getting what I actually deserve. I looked around the room, desperate for someone to tell me this was a prank. Uncle Mark, Dad's brother, nodded approvingly. Family comes first, Wendy. You'll understand when you're older. Aunt Jessica, Mom's sister, chimed in. Some children just need to learn about sacrifice. This will be good for you. I felt like I was in some kind of alternate reality. These people were talking about stealing my home, the home I'd worked 6 years to afford, the home I'd scrimped and saved for, the home I was currently paying a $3,200 monthly mortgage on, like they were asking me to share my French fries. But here's the thing about being a software engineer, you learn to think systematically. You learn to stay calm under pressure. You learn to solve problems step by step. So I smiled. One day is more than enough, I said, my voice steady. Emma looked confused. What do you mean? I mean I'll be out in one day. You're right, Em. You do deserve this. The room erupted in surprised murmurs. People were patting me on the back, saying they were proud of me for doing the right thing and putting family first. I hugged Emma, congratulated her again, and left the party. I drove straight home and got to work. First, I called my lawyer. Yes, I had a lawyer. I'd hired him when I bought the apartment to handle the closing. I explained the situation, and he confirmed what I suspected. What my family had done was completely illegal. You can't just transfer property ownership without the actual owner's consent, no matter how official-looking your fake documents are. Second, I called the police. I filed a report for attempted fraud and identity theft. Third, I called my bank and put a fraud alert on all my accounts. Fourth, I started making a list. See, the thing about being the forgotten child is that you notice things other people don't think you notice. You remember things other people don't think you remember. And you definitely keep track of things other people assume you've forgotten. Like how Dad had been bragging for months about the new 75-inch TV he'd bought, the one that fell off a truck and cost him practically nothing. Except I knew he'd actually bought it with a credit card under my name, a card he'd opened 3 years ago using my personal information from old tax documents he'd kept when I was a dependent. Or how Mom had been raving about her new car, the fantastic deal she'd gotten from a dealer who owed her a favor. Except the financing was in my name, something I discovered 8 months ago when I ran my annual credit report, but hadn't confronted them about because I was trying to keep the peace. Or how Uncle Mark's house had been foreclosed on 2 years ago, but he was still living there because he'd somehow convinced the bank there was a clerical error. Turned out the clerical error was that he'd been making partial mortgage payments from an account using my social security number, which kept the foreclosure in legal limbo. Or how Aunt Jessica's credit cards, all 7 of them, were tied to my credit history through a family account she'd opened using my information as a co-signer, except I'd never signed anything. I'd been monitoring my credit religiously since college, and I'd noticed these irregularities over the years. I'd confronted them about smaller issues before, but every time I'd brought up the bigger problems, I was told I was being paranoid or making trouble over nothing. They were family, they said. It was just temporary, they said. They'd fix it eventually, they said. But eventually never came, and I'd been too conflict-averse to push harder. But I wasn't imagining things. I was just being gaslit. So I spent that Saturday night doing what I do best. I got organized. I pulled every credit report, every bank statement, every financial document I had. I made spreadsheets. I created timelines. I gathered evidence. By Sunday morning, I had a complete picture of just how much my family had been stealing from me over the years. The total came to just over $180,000 in fraudulent charges, unauthorized loans, and identity theft spanning 5 years. I also had something else, a plan. I started with Dad's TV. One phone call to the credit card company, explaining that someone had stolen my identity to make the purchase. They opened a fraud investigation immediately and put a hold on the account. Within a week, the credit card company had reversed the charges and demanded return of the merchandise. Mom's car was next. Another call, another fraud report, another investigation. The dealership was very interested to learn that the financing had been obtained with stolen identity documents. The repossession took 2 weeks to process. I worked my way down the list systematically. Uncle Mark's mortgage payments, Aunt Jessica's credit cards, my cousin Tyler's student loans that he'd somehow attached to my credit using old documents, my other cousin Melissa's medical bills that had mysteriously appeared on my credit report when she'd given the hospital my social security number instead of hers. One by one, I reported every single fraudulent account, every unauthorized transaction, every stolen penny. The beauty of the system is that once you report identity theft with proper documentation, the burden of proof shifts to the people who made the charges. They have to prove they had permission to use your identity. And since none of them had my actual permission, they couldn't prove anything. But I wasn't done. I also called Emma's landlord, well, Jake's parents, technically. I explained that their son was about to be involved in a property fraud scheme and thought they should know. They were horrified and promised to handle it. I called Emma's work and Jake's work, not to get them fired, but to give them a heads up that they might be contacted by law enforcement regarding an ongoing fraud investigation. I called the baby shower venue and asked them to preserve any video footage from the event, as it might be needed for a criminal investigation. Then I called the locksmith and had my locks changed. And then I waited. Monday morning, my phone started ringing. It was Dad. Wendy, there's been some kind of mistake. They're trying to take back my TV. No mistake, Dad. I reported the credit card as stolen because it was opened without my permission. But I'm your father. You gave me permission. When? Show me where I signed something giving you permission to open a credit card in my name. Silence. You need to fix this, he demanded. I'm not fixing anything. You stole from me. I'm reporting the theft. That's how this works. He hung up on me. Tuesday, it was Mom. Wendy, I don't know what you think you're doing, but you need to stop this nonsense right now. I'm protecting myself from identity theft. We're your family. Family doesn't steal from family, Mom. You taught me that. She hung up too. Wednesday was Uncle Mark. Thursday was Aunt Jessica. Friday was a conference call with all of them, screaming at me about how I was destroying the family and being vindictive. Vindictive? I asked. I'm simply reporting crimes that were committed against me. If that's destroying the family, maybe the family was built on something that needed to be destroyed. Over the following 3 weeks, the consequences were rolling in steadily. Dad's TV was gone. Mom's car was being repossessed. Uncle Mark was being evicted from the house he'd been living in illegally for 2 years. Aunt Jessica's credit cards were all canceled, and she was being investigated for fraud. The phone calls were relentless. Every family member who had been at that baby shower was suddenly calling me, each with their own version of outrage. My cousin Tyler called Tuesday morning, screaming about how his student loans were suddenly in default. What did you do, Wendy? They're saying I committed fraud. You did commit fraud, Tyler. You used my social security number to get those loans. Did you think I'd never find out? But I needed them for school. And you make good money, so I figured it wouldn't hurt your credit. It's not your decision to make, Tyler. You stole my identity. That's a federal crime. You're really going to destroy my future over this? No, Tyler. You destroyed your own future when you decided to commit fraud. I'm just stopping you from continuing to destroy mine. My cousin Melissa was next, crying about her medical bills. Apparently, when she'd had her appendix out 2 years ago and couldn't afford the hospital bills, Uncle Mark had given the hospital my information instead of hers. I was in pain, Wendy. I wasn't thinking straight. Uncle Mark said it would be fine, that you'd understand. Melissa, do you realize I've been getting calls from debt collectors for medical bills for procedures I never had? Do you know what that does to someone's credit? Their stress levels? I'll pay you back. With what money? You're 23 and work part-time at a coffee shop. You can't pay back $23,000 in medical bills. So you're just going to ruin my life? I'm not ruining anything. I'm correcting a fraud that was committed against me. If that has consequences for you, maybe you should talk to Uncle Mark about why he thought it was okay to use someone else's identity without permission. But the call that really got to me was from my grandmother, Dad's mother. She was 84 and had always been the sweetest person in our family. Wendy, honey, she said in her trembling voice, I don't understand what's happening. Everyone's saying you're being mean to the family. I took a deep breath. Grandma, what exactly did they tell you? They said you're taking away everyone's things because you're mad about Emma's apartment gift. They said you're being selfish and hurting the family. I spent an hour on the phone with Grandma, carefully explaining what had actually happened. How family members had been using my personal information to open accounts without my permission. How they'd been making purchases and taking out loans in my name. How the apartment gift was actually them trying to steal my home. Oh my, she said when I finished. Oh my goodness. I had no idea. Wendy, that's terrible. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. It's not your fault, Grandma. But I raised your father better than that. I don't understand how this happened. I don't understand either, Grandma. What they did to you, that's not right. That's not family. Family protects each other, they don't. They don't steal from each other. Hearing her say that meant everything to me. This woman who had raised Dad, who had always preached about family loyalty and taking care of each other, understood immediately that what had been done to me was wrong. Are you going to be okay, honey? She asked. I think so, Grandma. I'm protecting myself now. Good. You should protect yourself. I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. That conversation gave me the strength to keep going when the next wave of family drama hit. Emma called Wednesday night, hysterical. Wendy, you need to fix this. Jake's parents are threatening to kick us out. They're saying we're criminals. You're not criminals, Emma. But what happened at the baby shower was attempted fraud. But I didn't know. I thought it was real. Emma, let me ask you something. Did you ever, at any point, think to ask me about this apartment transfer? Did it ever occur to you to say, "Hey Wendy, are you really okay with giving us your home?" Silence. Did you ever wonder why I wasn't involved in planning this gift? Why I seemed surprised when Mom presented it? Why I looked upset? More silence. You didn't ask because you didn't want to know the truth. You wanted the apartment, and you were willing to take it even if it meant I lost my home. I was pregnant. I wasn't thinking clearly. Emma, being pregnant doesn't make you a different person. It doesn't change your moral compass. You saw an opportunity to get something you wanted, and you took it without caring how it affected me. I'm sorry. I said I'm sorry. What more do you want? I want you to understand that sorry doesn't undo the damage. I want you to understand that what happened at that baby shower showed me exactly how little you value me and my well-being. That's not true, isn't it? Emma, when Dad told me I had 30 days to vacate my own apartment, you smiled. When Mom said I didn't deserve nice things, you agreed. When they told me I needed to learn about sacrifice, you nodded along. You were happy to see me lose everything as long as you gained something. She was crying now. I didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it, then? I don't know. I was excited about having a place for the baby. I thought you'd be happy for me. Happy that you were taking my home? Emma, how does that make sense? I thought you'd understand. I thought you'd want to help. There's a difference between helping and being robbed, Emma. If you'd come to me and asked for help finding a place, or asked if I could contribute to a deposit, or asked for advice on apartments, I would have helped. But you didn't ask. You just took. Because I knew you'd say no. And there it was. The truth. So you decided to take it anyway. Yes. Yes, okay. I decided to take it anyway because I needed it more than you did. Based on what? Based on the fact that I worked 60-hour weeks for 6 years to afford it? Based on the fact that I live within my means while you and Jake live beyond yours? Based on what calculation did you decide you needed my home more than I did? I have a baby. And I have a life, Emma. I have a job, and bills, and a mortgage, and responsibilities. Having a baby doesn't give you the right to other people's property. Family is supposed to help family. Help, yes. Enable, no. There's a difference between helping someone and allowing them to steal from you. The conversation ended with her hanging up on me, but not before she said something that really stuck with me. I hope you're happy. You chose money over family. I wasn't happy. I was exhausted and hurt and angry. But I also knew I was doing the right thing. The thing about financial abuse is that it's insidious. It starts small and builds over time. A credit card here, a loan there, a bill that somehow gets attached to your account. Each incident alone seems manageable, so you don't fight it. You tell yourself it's easier to just pay it and move on. You tell yourself that family is more important than money. But it's not really about the money. It's about respect. It's about boundaries. It's about whether the people who claim to love you see you as a person with rights and autonomy, or as a resource to be exploited. For years, I'd been treated as a resource. The successful daughter who could absorb financial hits. The responsible one who would always figure it out. The one who didn't really need her own money because she was good at making it. Nobody had ever asked if I wanted to be the family's financial safety net. They just decided I was, and then gotten angry when I tried to protect myself. Sitting in my apartment that Wednesday night, looking at the spreadsheets I created documenting years of theft, I realized something important. This wasn't about revenge. This was about survival. If I didn't protect myself, who would? If I didn't enforce boundaries, who would respect them? If I didn't value my own financial security, why would anyone else? The next morning, I got a call that changed everything. But the big one came 3 weeks after I'd filed the initial police report. I got a call from Detective Martinez with the Seattle Police Department. The investigation into the fake deed had led them to a larger pattern of identity theft and fraud. Apparently, my family had been running similar scams for years, not just on me but on other people too. Ms. Thompson, Detective Martinez said, "We're going to need you to come in and give a full statement. What your reports have uncovered here is part of a much bigger investigation we've been working on." That afternoon, I sat in a police station for 4 hours, walking through 5 years of financial abuse. I had documentation for everything, spreadsheets that showed patterns, evidence that painted a clear picture of systematic theft. This is one of the most well-documented cases of familial financial abuse I've ever seen, Detective Martinez told me. Your family is looking at serious charges, but building the cases will take time. Over the next 4 months, the legal process slowly ground forward. Dad, Mom, Uncle Mark, and Aunt Jessica were all arrested at different times as evidence was gathered. Emma and Jake weren't charged because they hadn't actually participated in the identity theft, but they were questioned extensively about the fake deed incident. The fake deed, by the way, turned out to be something Mom had paid a guy she knew from her church small group to create on his computer. She genuinely believed that if it looked official enough, it would somehow become legally binding. When I explained to the detective that my family had never had any legal claim to my apartment, and that there was still an active mortgage in my name, he looked at me like I was stating the obvious. "Ma'am," he said, "you can't just decide you own someone else's property and make fake documents. That's not how property ownership works." Apparently, this needed to be explained to my family. The court cases took 8 months to resolve. Dad pleaded guilty to identity theft and credit card fraud. He was sentenced to 18 months probation and ordered to pay restitution. Mom got the same. Uncle Mark, who had a prior record for check fraud, got 4 months in jail. Aunt Jessica got community service and probation. The restitution alone came to $180,000, but that didn't include penalties, interest, and legal fees. By the time everything was calculated, my family owed various creditors and institutions about $240,000. None of them could pay it. Dad and Mom lost their house. Uncle Mark was already homeless. Aunt Jessica had to move in with a friend. Emma and Jake, meanwhile, were dealing with their own problems. Jake's parents had kicked them out after learning about the fake deed scheme. Emma couldn't understand why everyone was being so dramatic about what she called just a misunderstanding. "I thought you'd given us the apartment," she kept telling anyone who would listen. "I thought it was a real gift." Except she couldn't explain why she thought I'd give her an apartment I was still paying a mortgage on, or why she thought I'd have no say in the matter, or why she'd never bothered to, I don't know, ask me about it. 2 months after the baby was born, Emma called me crying. "Wendy, I'm sorry," she sobbed. "I didn't know what they were doing. I thought you'd agree to it." "Emma, you were at the baby shower. You heard Dad tell me I had 30 days to vacate my own apartment. You heard Mom say I didn't deserve nice things. You told me you were finally getting what you deserved. How exactly did you think I'd agreed to that?" I don't know. I wasn't thinking clearly. I was pregnant and hormonal and everyone said you were being selfish and I wanted to believe them." "You wanted to believe them because it benefited you?" "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I did. And I'm sorry. It was the first genuine apology I'd gotten from anyone in my family." "I don't know how to fix this," she continued. "Jake's parents hate us. We're staying in a motel. The baby cries all night and the walls are thin. I can't get a good job yet because I'm still recovering and need to pump every few hours. Jake's working double shifts, but it's not enough. And everyone's mad at us because of the thing with your apartment, but I still don't fully understand what happened." I explained what had happened. I explained about the identity theft, the fraud, the fake deed. I explained how our parents had been stealing from me for years while simultaneously telling me I was selfish for not giving them more. "Oh my God," Emma said when I finished. "Wendy, I had no idea. I don't know what I thought. I'm so sorry." "I know you are. Is there anything I can do? Any way to fix this?" I thought about it for a long time. "Emma, I'm not going to pretend this doesn't change things between us. What happened at that baby shower showed me how you really feel about me and my life. You were perfectly happy to take my home away from me as long as you benefited. That's not something I can just forget." "I know. But you're my sister, and you have a baby, and I don't want you to be homeless." I told her about a low-income housing program I'd found that she and Jake qualified for. I helped her apply. I also helped her apply for WIC and other assistance programs. "I'm not giving you money," I made clear. "I'm not paying your bills or solving your problems for you. But I'll help you find resources and figure out how to solve your own problems." "That's more than I deserve." "Yeah, it probably is." 8 months later, Emma and Jake were in a subsidized apartment. It wasn't fancy, but it was clean and safe and affordable. Emma had gotten a part-time remote job doing data entry that worked around the baby's schedule. Jake was working full-time at a warehouse. They were making it work. Dad and Mom, meanwhile, were living in a one-bedroom apartment in a not-great part of town, both working retail jobs to try to pay their restitution. Uncle Mark was in a halfway house. Aunt Jessica was living with her friend and working at a call center. None of them had apologized to me except Emma. A year and a half later, I got a text from Mom, "I hope you're happy. You destroyed this family over money." I didn't respond. But if I had, I would have told her that I didn't destroy anything. I just stopped pretending that what they built was legitimate. I stopped enabling their behavior. I stopped letting them steal from me while calling it love. The family was always broken. I just finally stopped pretending it wasn't. Today, Emma and I have a cordial but distant relationship. We text occasionally, mostly about the baby. I've met my nephew twice. He's beautiful and innocent and deserves better than the chaos his arrival caused. I'm still in my apartment, the one I saved 6 years to buy, the one I work hard every month to afford. It's still just as small and just as expensive and just as worth it. And I've learned something important: when people show you who they are, believe them the first time. When people tell you that you don't deserve nice things, when they try to take what you've worked for, When they demand you sacrifice your security for their comfort, they're not family. They're just people who happen to share your DNA. Real family doesn't steal from you. Real family doesn't gaslight you when you try to protect yourself. Real family doesn't try to take your home and then act like you're the villain for stopping them. I spent 28 years trying to earn their love and approval. It turns out what I needed to do was earn my own respect by refusing to accept their abuse. The apartment is quiet now. No more family drama, no more financial stress from their fraud, no more guilt trips about being selfish with money I earned. It's just me, my cat, I got a cat, and the life I built for myself. And you know what? I do deserve nice things. I deserve the home I worked for. I deserve financial security. I deserve to not have my identity stolen by people who claim to love me. Some people say blood is thicker than water. But I've learned that the full saying is the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. The family you choose is stronger than the family you're born into. I chose to choose myself. And for the first time in my life, that feels like enough. Update: a lot of people in the comments have asked what happened with the restitution money and whether I ever got my $180,000 back. The short answer is, some of it. Through the criminal restitution process, I've gotten back about $75,000 so far. It comes in small monthly payments that will continue for years. Dad and Mom each pay $150 a month, Uncle Mark pays $25 when he's employed, and Aunt Jessica pays $80. It's not much, but it's something. The credit agencies removed all the fraudulent accounts from my credit report, so my credit score actually improved dramatically once everything was cleaned up. That was almost more valuable than the money. I also sued civilly and got a judgment for the remaining amount, but you can't get blood from a stone. None of them have significant assets to garnish. Honestly, I didn't do this for the money. I did it because they needed to face consequences for their actions. And they have. Second update: Emma's baby is now 18 months old, and she's doing much better. She and Jake moved to a larger subsidized apartment, and she's working full-time now from home doing customer service. She's been in therapy to deal with what she calls the family stuff, and she's made a real effort to understand how toxic our family dynamic was. We have dinner once a month now, just the two of us. She's never asked me for money, and she's never minimized what happened. She owns her part in it, and she's working to be different. Last month she told me, "I used to think you were lucky to have money and success. Now I realize you weren't lucky. You worked for it, and you protected it, and you deserve to keep it. I'm sorry it took me so long to understand that." That meant more to me than any of the restitution money. As for the rest of them, Dad and Mom are still together, still working retail, still paying restitution, and still convinced they're the victims in this story. I haven't spoken to them in over a year. Uncle Mark violated his probation and is back in jail. Aunt Jessica moved to another state and I lost track of her. I'm doing well. Got a promotion at work, bought some actual furniture for my apartment. It's amazing what you can afford when people aren't stealing from you, and I'm even dating someone. His name is Chris, he's a teacher, and when I told him this whole story, his response was, "Good for you for protecting yourself." It's nice to be with someone who thinks I deserve nice things. Life is good. Quiet, peaceful, and good.